If there's one thing that will always be true, it's that Roderick is a suave, handsome man that will never miss an opportunity to compliment his bae, Farnese. And look at this. Look at this. She's blushing. She's blushing at it. There might be something there. We might finally get them together. He's probably going to die before they even kiss. Okay, Berserk Chapter 381. Now, this might be a little bit of a shock to some people because I'm usually mostly positive with all of these chapter video reviews, but this one kind of rubbed me the wrong way, although I am going to allow the series to give it the opportunity to show me what they're planning with the events that are happening in this chapter. But just first initial reading without context of what's coming up next, I wasn't really as big a fan of this chapter. There are a couple of things I liked. Again, I like seeing the group together in the very beginning, and Farnese obviously growing stronger and stronger in her abilities and her craft. She is by far one of the best, most developed characters of the whole series, and I'm glad that they're giving her time to shine and focus here. But what we're basically seeing is the aftermath of the attack that happened here at the Kushan Empire, but the thing that rubs me the wrong way about it is that it seemed like this was set up to be something much bigger. A couple of chapters ago, we saw this giant tornado swirling vortex of evil looming above the Empire, and we saw Daiba's reaction like, oh my god, this has to be coming from something super powerful. Well, it seems like in this chapter, Daiba was really only referring to the brand on Guts' neck that was calling the evil creatures here, which, yes, that is what the brand does, but it really felt like this was building up to be something much bigger than that, and maybe that's my own expectations letting me down, I'm not sure, but right here in the first page of the chapter, we see that the sky is clearing up above the castle. So I guess that assumes that Farnese and everybody else did their job and they were able to dispel it. And I don't know, that's just a little disappointing because I was expecting a little bit more from it. I also am a little disappointed that it seems that Rakshas is dead here. He's not mentioned or shown at all, but I was kind of curious about that at the end of the last chapter. I know a lot of people were saying he wasn't dead because it would show him get pulled into the vortex like we've seen with Wild, but to be honest, that's the last time we saw something like that happen in the manga, and here, since we cut away before we see Guts again, we could theoretically assume that that did happen, but we just didn't see it happen. Well, whatever the case, we have Guts out of his cell, but he definitely does seem to still be delirious and broken within his despair, and as I said before, I think that this makes sense for Guts' character right now, and it seemed like in the last chapter he was at the first point of truly accepting his potential death, and so that would leave him to kind of be sluggish and moving like a lump and feeling like all hope is lost. I mean, with everything that's happened to him, that's the part I can still kind of understand, and of course we want to see Guts get through this, we want to see him pull through, we want to see him recover, but as of right now, yeah, I'm still going with that okay. But Daiba pulls him out of his cell surrounded by a bunch of sorcerers and basically says, hey, this is the guy that's responsible for all of the evil that was just brought here. We need to do something about it. And we know that Daiba is up to something. This guy is always plotting and scheming, and he's got a lot more than he lets on to the people around him. For a time, it seemed like he and Salat were working together, but this seems to suggest that he's plotting something specific without the involvement of the others. I do like that Isidro steps up and says, no, like, don't take Guts away from here. What are you talking about? Everyone else staying back, because we have to remember that our main cast are at a massive disadvantage here. It's the Kushans that are in control, and our characters are basically here to be forced to fight with them against Griffith's army. So even though they have some free reign, they're still kind of prisoners here and have to obey the authority of the Kushan. And I do think Daiba has something specific in mind for Guts, because he says that we can't kill him because he doesn't know if that will solve the problem, but it seems to be just an excuse for the leader to give the alternative to take him as far away as possible, exile him, right? And Daiba says, as you command, sort of in a way where it's like, yeah, this is what I was planning all along. There's an image where Salat remembers the man-made Beylit that Ganishka had, which of course Daiba was responsible for creating, so he knows of the levels of depravity and darkness that Daiba is willing to go to with his magic, and so what does that possibly mean for Guts? You know, at first I thought maybe he was planning to help Guts in a way to remove the brand or weaken its effects even more than the charm that Shurike put over it, but that's never mentioned here. Instead, we just get a brief panel of Shurike still unconscious because her ethereal body is traveling to try to find Casca, which is something I thought this chapter would follow up on since that was the cliffhanger of the last one, but it doesn't really. And then we see Guts being walked out of the city by the sorcerers and Daiba, with Isidro kind of trailing behind. Now, I have no idea exactly what Daiba could be planning for Guts. This is not something that I saw coming and not something that I expected. I expected this chapter to either follow up on these events of the attack still happening and getting bigger and darker, or to follow Shurike trying to find Casca and then encountering Sonya. So this whole element of Daiba taking Guts out on his own for his own objective, I literally am in the dark here. And maybe that's why this chapter was a little bit of a disappointment for me. Again, I'm going to reserve all judgments until I see exactly where the story is planning out. It's hard to base it when we don't know what's happening. But my two ideas of where I saw the story going, it didn't go in either of those directions, and so now I guess I'm just along for the ride. Daiba's plan might still actually have something to do with the brand on Guts. They didn't seem to bring Guts' armor or his sword with him, so if Daiba was planning on doing something like, I don't know, fully unleashing the Beast of Darkness or something, well, he doesn't really have any of the elements here that would make that work well. So is Daiba's plan positive, negative? I would assume that he would realize that Guts is a extremely valuable asset in the battle against Griffith, so you would want him around, but I honestly have no idea. Right now, I'm just cautiously open to where the story is going to go, but even though I wasn't a huge fan specifically of this chapter in this direction, I am still open to seeing where they're going to take this and seeing how it all pays off. The good news is there will be another Berserk chapter in 2 weeks' time. So just like with the release of the last 2 chapters, they're doing a 2-week break. I don't know if this is going to be the trend from now on, wait a couple months and then release 2 at a time. But at least with a cliffhanger like this that is very confusing, we really only have 2 weeks to wait to figure out what's going on next. Unless, of course, it cuts back to Shurike and Casca, which I would be all for, to be honest. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think of this chapter down below. Are you confused like I am, or do you see this playing out in a way that's going to benefit the story? Let me know down below in the comments. Please give the video a like, comment, and some interaction to help it out in the algorithm. Subscribe if you want to stick around and see more. The channel is not doing particularly well right now, so if you guys want to contribute in any way, shape, or form, whether it's just watching and liking more videos, or the Patreon channel memberships that are available down below, or even just liking this video, I would appreciate any and all of it. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.